Welcome to Fort Worth Innovates, a show about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in Panther City. My name is Cameron Cushman, and I'm the host of this podcast that brings you the stories of the people that are putting our city on the map as a leader in innovation, with the help of the Fort Worth-Tarrant County Innovation Partnership. My guest today is Dr. Ivett Leyva, the Associate Dean for Research at Texas A&M Fort Worth, and is a professor of aerospace engineering. She was trained at Caltech, and her research interests include hypersonic aerodynamics. She is leading the Aerospace and Aviation Innovation Hub for the Fort Worth-Tarrant County Innovation Partnership, and will be leading efforts that will develop and test new aviation technologies such as drones, air taxis, and hypersonic aircraft with an eye to promoting safe skies. Ivett, welcome to the Fort Worth Innovates podcast.
I am so glad to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. So I just read your bio, but can you tell us in your own words about your role at Texas A&M Fort Worth and with the Fort Worth-Tarrant County Innovation Partnership?
Yes. So my role is to set up a new research enterprise that also encompasses innovation as defined by supporting professors and entrepreneurs that have ideas that can help the aerospace and aviation industry here. And the third leg of the stool is continuing education. So it's a whole ecosystem that we are trying to create to strengthen the already very prominent aerospace and aviation industry in the DFW area.
Yeah, you're right. We have a long history of innovation in aerospace here in Fort Worth. But what are some of your initial impressions of Fort Worth, and what do you think is the climate for innovation here?
Oh, the timing we got right. I was just having a conversation, one of many conversations that with industry that land in the same place. We know the world is different. We know that in aerospace and in aviation, we have peer competitors, which we didn't have 40, 50 years ago. So in the defense area, it is a new world. But also economically, we are seeing so much more willingness of people from Silicon Valley and everywhere else in the United States, including Fort Worth, to invest in technologies that are either commercial or defense, but that can change how we live and how we fly.
That's great. So we mentioned a long history of innovation in aerospace here in Fort Worth, but why do you think Fort Worth is the right place to launch this new program? When you think about the Texas A&M system and all that they have going all over the state, why is Fort Worth the place to launch this program?
I don't think there was another place to launch this program. Fort Worth, as per Governor Abbott, is the aviation and defense capital of Texas. And Lockheed Martin, to name one corporation, has 4 businesses. 2 of those businesses are headquartered here in this area in North Texas. We have Bell, we have Ivett, we have Raytheon, we have a myriad of medium and small size companies that feed into the aerospace and aviation ecosystem. And it is Texas. So I think this was the right place.
Yeah, so you mentioned some of these giant companies that have long been in the Fort Worth world. Can you tell me more specifically about some of the work that are either in discussions to do with them or maybe already doing with the Lockheeds, the Bells, Ivets that you mentioned?
Those companies, of course, are more defense. We are defense and commercial. So American Airlines, which all the 3 of us fly a lot, I am sure, and Southwest are also here in this area, right, Fort Worth area. And they too have tremendous opportunities to innovate. So some of the things that we have talked to all of these companies about is what is it that they need the most that makes sense to partner with academia. And it has been very interesting discussions. So a few areas that we have landed on are, for example, how do you make a prototype of the F-36? It doesn't exist, I'm making it up, but a future fighter, F-36. How do you build it faster with the same reliability or more reliability the F-35? How do you do it? And one of those things that you can do is a digital twin. And so that's one of the areas that we are focusing on: digital twins, rapid prototyping. And how do you interlace that with a new acquisition transformation that the White House just announced? So that is a beautiful, fertile, I think, area for academia, startups, and Lockheed. How do you ensure that your pilots are ready to fly safely? That's something that interests other people. Um, how do you fly safely with even in GPS denied environments, commercially and militarily? How do you sense the state of your aircraft or missile or helicopter? How do you know where you are, how you're doing? How do you know your pitch? How do you know your angle of attack? How do you know your pressures? Microelectronics manufactured here in the United States, here in Texas. So as you can see, Cameron, it's a long list of things that we can do very well with industry.
Yeah, and I love that. And I wanted to see if you could define a term for us. Can you define what a digital twin is?
When you have models, mathematical models that describe um, how your wings fly, how your avionics actuate your control surfaces, how your gas turbine operates. All of those subsystems of the airplane have to fly together to make the airplane go to where you want to go, the way that you want it to go. Well, just imagine the complexity of all of those subsystems and models interacting with each other. The successful interlace of all of these mathematical models into a plane, which happens to be the same as the plane is flying, that would be a digital twin.
Okay, Yvette, obviously you spend a lot of time thinking about innovation and you spend a lot of time thinking about developing the future. What do you see as the future for some of these, technologies and buzzwords that we hear about all the time, like drones or air taxis, flying cars? What do you see as the future for those technologies?
I do see a future. I think 10 years from now, there will be, my personal opinion, but I do think that the air taxis are coming. I mean, other countries have been testing them. Um, and I think we better prepare so that it doesn't take us by surprise and it doesn't displace our leadership in aerospace and aviation.
Very good. So you have a background in hypersonic flight. Do you think humans will ever travel faster than the speed of sound? Are we going to see a new Concorde anytime soon? Can you give us a peek into the future on what that potentially will look like?
Yes, the Chuck Yeager for the United States broke the sound barrier in 1947. Of course, he was a military person, um, but astronauts that went to the moon and the astronauts that went to the space station, they travel many times higher than the speed of sound. So that is happening, and I think Space tourism was a buzzword a few years ago, maybe less now than a few years ago. But I think that will make people like you and I who can pay a ticket be able to go to the edge of space, or maybe even Leo to vacation. And as for a new Concorde, yes, I think that once we figure out the sonic boom and how to make sure that it's not so noisy when it travels over land, a business case will be made, and people will invest. Going back to the money and the investors into these technologies, I think it will happen.
I think you're right, and I hope you're right, because I never got a chance to fly in the Concorde. I always thought it was
Me too.
super cool. I had several friends that had done it, and I would
Wow.
just always ask them about their experience and how cool that was. Okay, so you mentioned space. That's where I want to jump next. How does the work that you're doing at Texas A&M Fort Worth work with the really blossoming space travel industry in Texas? And are you working with SpaceX and in Boca Chica? And do you see any of that work coming to Fort Worth anytime soon?
We have to send a shout out to SpaceX. SpaceX has been so absolutely welcoming of Texas A&M. Personally, I visited 3 times in the last 2 years. 3 times in the last 2 years to Boca Chica, and what they have done, which is an example for many other companies, is that they have been so transparent and so clear as to what Texas A&M graduates do well and what we could do better, which help us to better understand how we need to change our curriculum for undergraduates and graduate students so they are better prepared to be the people that are building spaceships to go to Mars. So much so that we responded to the governor's call for a space engineering program, and I was personally involved with another professor, Kyle DeMars, to create a space engineering program at Texas A&M, and we did it. And it is now online, and I believe they admitted their first cadre of students this fall. All of this just because of the attitude of Texas A&M, that we like the aerospace and aviation industry in Fort Worth. We want to remain leaders in educating really good students in engineering, and especially in aerospace and space.
Yeah, and obviously in a rapidly changing industry like the space industry, where it's not just working for NASA anymore, you have all these private companies who are trying to do it. The curriculum has to change. The education has to change. Can you tell me a little bit more about maybe a specific example of something that feedback you got from, say, SpaceX or another company that changed the curriculum and the way you educate current students to prepare them for the future?
SpaceX and other companies had been telling us that the students needed more linear algebra. And the students themselves were saying, you're teaching us stuff that needs linear algebra, and the linear algebra course is not meeting the needs of what the aerospace courses expect of us. So we created a new course in combination with the mathematics department, and it is being now taught for undergrads in its applications of applied math for aerospace. Because of feedback from SpaceX and other people, we created a document for all of the required courses for the undergrads, and we gave them inputs and outputs so that the students understand what knowledge they need to bring into a course and what knowledge they need to retain because it is an output, and how those output knowledge bits fit into the next year or the next course, all for the whole undergraduate curriculum of aerospace. SpaceX pointed out some things that our undergrads could do better in solid mechanics. We went back to the professors that teach solid mechanics, and we are we are redoing how we teach the sequence of solid mechanics. And last but not least, SpaceX and other people wanted more experiential opportunities in our undergraduate labs. And this year, we hired a wonderful new professor, and he's taken it upon him to completely redo the experiential lab course that we do for undergrads.
Very good, and I love that Texas A&M is taking that feedback from the real world and not being afraid to reinvent, reimagine, improve their curriculum. Because sometimes in academia, you just kind of get stuck in that world of, well, this is the way we've always done it. This is the way we've always taught it. I love that there's that attitude and that spirit to continue changing and to stay up with the world and what the employers want. Obviously, the better trained staff members you can put in a place like SpaceX, the faster they can reach their goals and, of course, get to Mars, which I know is one of their goals, which is an amazing thing to say. So I love that there's that spirit in the A&M engineering department.
Yeah. Yeah. And for the space engineering going to Mars, the thing that I'm most proud of that is that the undergrads will have 4 years of training thinking of variable gravity, fluid mechanics, heat transfer, thermodynamics. Imagine that for a second. Every undergraduate right now in the United States, chances are they're being taught about our planet and how fluids behave with 1G in our planet for 4 years. But we're switching that paradigm. And these kids that will graduate with a space engineering degree will have 4 years of not thinking about the Earth, but thinking about how do you colonize, survive, thrive in the moon and in Mars.
It's a totally different way of thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's fascinating. Okay, so I know that you spent a lot of time in the main Texas A&M campus in College Station, but you recently moved to Fort Worth. Can you tell us about that decision?
Well, I spent 15 years at the Air Force. So I, as a civilian, very proud civilian serving my country. And those 15 years taught me that there is a disconnect between the research at the fundamental level and applied research and industry. And that if we could close that gap, like peer competitors do, surprise, you can get weapons faster. So when this opportunity arose, that they were going to open a campus and that they decided that aerospace and aviation was prominent and they needed somebody to lead it, I volunteered because I saw it as the opportunity in my life to try to build that gap, bridge that gap between the brains, the privileged brains of the professors and students and the real world needs of our country, our industry, and the super dedicated people and smart people that are trying to keep us safe with the best systems that we can.
And you saw Fort Worth as the best place to do that.
Yes, I did.
Absolutely. Well, so I also think, too, when you think about the Texas A&M system, there are a lot of campuses that are in more rural areas, more smaller towns and cities. Fort Worth, obviously, is now the 10th largest city in the country. There's over 1 million people just in the city of Fort Worth, and it's even bigger if you consider Tarrant County and obviously the entire Metroplex. What do you think having an innovation campus like this in Fort Worth in an urban area will mean for the Texas A&M system ultimately?
Oh, I think it's going to be, I think we're breaking a barrier here. We're starting from scratch, to be absolutely frank, right? There's nothing right now. There is a vision and inspiration, but our building itself is just being built next year for the innovation. So I think switching to an urban campus, you switch to where there are millions of people. I mean, like many people. And the industry is here. A lot of young people that want to go to college, and for whatever the reason, they prefer to stay in an urban environment than go to College Station, which, don't get me wrong, is a beautiful, beautiful college town. But some people want a different experience. And if we can answer the educational needs of people in urban settings and in rural settings, well, good for us, because there are plenty of people in urban settings and plenty of industry in urban settings.
Ivett, I want to know, what is your favorite innovation that you're currently seeing in Fort Worth?
Every time I tour a factory here, it really leaves you breathless. And, when I see the kind of additive manufacturing that is being done at large scale by some companies that are really not that famous yet, but they will be famous. When I see the helmets that Ivett is doing, when I see the F-35, they're all great things. But I think what is common is the contagious sense of pride of the people doing them and giving you the tours, and the engineers on the floor. All of them are absolutely proud to be here and be part of what they're doing and serving our country in one way or the other. So what is my favorite innovation is the innovators, is the people that work to make those systems a reality.
That's great. You can't have innovation without people, right?
Yeah.
Ivett, thank you so much for joining me today on Fort Worth Innovates. If you like hearing stories about innovation, research, entrepreneurship, and startups in our city, please subscribe, share, and be sure to tell a friend. The more you share, the more episodes we can bring you. Fort Worth Innovates is produced by Kendall Rogers. We'd like to thank our sponsor for this podcast, the Fort Worth Tarrant County Innovation Partnership, who are building an innovation district where technology and research combine to build the future, right here, right now.